Good morning. Welcome to this episode, Prophecy for the Last Hour. Liz McGee, and much shalom to you. I have a meaty little teaching again I want to share. Things are coming into greater focus for me because, as you know, I keep digging, seeking, knocking, researching, whatever. I believe Yah is good, that I am getting greater focus and understanding and simplification, because I believe as we get the keys to the kingdom back, we're going to be able to articulate in a very simple way that even a child can understand the our great Yahweh Elohim, Creator Father, and His plan of goodness, mercy, and salvation for all of us. So I want to talk today about the what's called to many people, the 7 spirits of Elohim, the 7 spirits of Yah, and simplify so that we can understand our text and what we're reading. So I'm going to start. First of all, I want to do a complete scriptural overview so you can see that what I'm talking about is scriptural. So let's lay the foundation and then we'll unpack it a little bit. And what I want to show you that this is our ancient, patriarchal, and I'm going to use this word, so prepare yourself, theology, but I want to use the word theosophy because it's theo, it's God. Ology, it is the understanding. This is our ancient, patriarchal understanding of Yahweh Elohim that has been known through the centuries, because we have a veil over us. Remember, if you're in darkness, there's a veil over you. The eyes of your understanding are darkened, so you cannot see the simplicity that really is in the word. And I also want to say that when it says that the hearts of the hearts of the children will be turned to the fathers, we're the children. Okay, the Ruach HaKodesh is our mother. We are going back to the fathers, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yaakov, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov are our fathers in the word. And we're going back to a simplistic understanding of where the foundation that they laid. Now, let's just do a quick overview through Revelation. There's 4 places in Revelation where this concept of the 7 spirits is pretty clearly. So whoever wrote Revelation, let me say this, whoever wrote Revelation, John, the Revelator, he was highly initiated. Another word I use to reclaim, he totally understood what he was talking about, how he was using these words as symbols and what was being symbolized. So, and we are getting back to understanding from his mind of the Ruach what is being symbolized. So in Revelation 1, we'll start there, 1:4, it says to the 7 churches. So what we're going to do, I'm going to say over and over is 7, the number 7, and how it is paired up with how the 7 spirits are paired up with other understandings, other words, other code words, other symbols. So we have John to the 7 churches, which are in Asia, grace be unto you, peace, which is from him, which is, which was, and which is to come. Ayer, Asher, Aye. Aye, Asher, Aye. Here is our Elohim. And from the 7 spirits which are before his throne. Revelation 3:1, unto the angel of the church in Sardis, right? These things saith he that hath the 7 spirits of Yahweh and the 7 stars. I know thy works, and thou hast a name that thou livest and art dead. All right, but we got 7 spirits again in this verse. We have 7 stars. Let's go back to Revelation 4:5. And it says, and out of the throne, because now, first of all, twice throne, we're in a realm. We are in a heavenly realm. We're in a heavenly mindset. We're in a heavenly place. We're, okay, out of the throne preceded lightnings and thunderings and voices. Just let me say here, lightnings, that these are angelic orders, right? That's what that's all talking about. It's not talking about physical lightning or physical thunder, or even something like that. These are principalities, these are powers, these are archangels, these are angels before the throne. All right. And there were 7 lamps of fire. So now we got 7 lamps burning before the throne, again, which are the 7 spirits of Yah. So in Revelation 5:6, it says, and I behold again, lo, in the midst of the throne. This is the throne room. See, this is Ezekiel's vision. John the Revelator, who totally understood and had been in the same place spiritually with revelation knowledge as Ezekiel, as Moshe. He's as high up there as any of these other guys. And having this vision of the heavenly throne room where you have Yahweh Elohim on his throne, you have the 4 beasts, the living creatures is another way. You know, the ox, the lamb, the man, and the eagle. All right, these are all words that symbolize something that's going on, some great. And in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh sent forth into all the earth. Okay, so what we have here, let's just review again. We've got 7 churches, 7 stars, 7 lamps, 7 horns, 7 eyes, and 7 fire. Let me find that one again. 7 lamps, I said, but of fire. Now, do you think they're all talking about something different? Do you think, no, it's all the same spirit? Because we know ultimately Yahweh is spirit. His most fundamental essence is spirit. But he does inhabit, in a certain sense, his whole creation. Nothing is out of his purveyance. Nothing is out of his sight or his dominion or his authority. So let's talk about these 7 horns, stars, churches, eyes. Again, what this is really telling us, this is in the tree of life. This is a depiction. These are code words that are using for the tree of life, the 7 emanations of the lower under the high Godhead. All right. So if you're familiar with the tree of life, and I've done teachings on this, and actually I should, and as I get into it, I'm going to show a picture in a second, but this is a highly established patriarchal understanding that they could have of the Godhead. 10 emanations. This is what it says in all the 10, not 9, 10, not 11. 10 is a decade. 10 is one of the most pivotal numbers because it's telling us something. This is why some numbers are repeated. 3 is repeated. 7 is repeated. 4 is repeated. 12 is repeated. Because these are groupings that are giving us so much information about certain aspects or ways to look at all of this divine macrocosm of the cosmos that Yahweh has made. And he inhabits it. Now, let me go into the Old Testament and tell you where, again, so in terms of the tree of life, and I'll show you, it picks up. So let me put it this way. John the Revelator was not some King James New Age or New Testament Christian. He was a Essene Hebrew. He knew the secrets and the mysteries. He knew the words, he knew what they meant, and he knew how to use them. And he was speaking to his audience. He was passing on information to his audience who also had an understanding of this. All right. This is what is called and I've been through this sod level of understanding where words are used to explain deeper mysteries. All right. And definitely the understanding of the whole throne room of Elohim, his whole workings through the universe, in all of the angelic realms that you can't see, is a highly is a theology for a highly developed person, somebody who has some understanding. Okay, you just don't come out of that teaching this to babies. All right. But you teach the babies how Yah is love, yes. But after that, we got to grow up. We're in a battle. We got stuff to do. We got to get a bigger handle on the topography of what we're dealing with here. Anyways, where am I? Okay, let's just start in First Chronicles 29:11. It says, "Yours, O Yahweh, is the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, the splendor of all that is in heaven and on earth. Yours, O Yahweh, is the kingdom." All right. Now, if you add that all up, you have basically 7. You have the lower 7 Sefirot's understandings of Elohim. And I'll just throw this out there right now, not to confuse the issue, but to show you how many ways and word, symbol, and words around those symbols our patriarchs, our writers, our scribes, our prophets, our sages have used to describe the same phenomena. All right. It isn't like, all right. When Yeshua said, in my Father's house are many mansions, I go to prepare a place for you. He's talking about the 7 Sefiriths. We're all going to be plugged in somewhere. These are, in other words, they're mansions, they're houses, they're abodes, they're palaces. These are all words. We're all describing the same phenomena. But again, it's spirit. Who's been there? Who knows? We do the best we can with language. Language are words and symbols that paint pictures in our mind that give our intellect understanding. Now, so that was from First Chronicles 29:11. In Isaiah, another famous place is in Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11, verse 1, it says, and here again it says, a shoot will spring from the stem of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. I'm going to end up on how this relates to fruit. All right. But let me just say here that it said in Revelation, the lamb, it says, and behold, in Revelation 5:6, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes. Who do you think that is? Who do you think it's talking about in Isaiah, where it talks about a shoot will spring from Jesse and a branch will from his roots? We're talking about Yeshua. We're Yav, Hey, Vav, Hey. All right. It's not, they're all the same person, theology, understanding. All right. Anyways, it says in verse 2, the spirit of Yahweh, will rest on him. Who's the him? We just told you. The spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and strength, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. All right. There's 7 in there. And if you work those words in the Hebrew, by the way, I have another teaching on this and I'll link it with this one, because this is sort of like a part 2 I have on the 7 spirits of Yah. These words all relate exactly to the Sephiric names that are given for Elohim, his predominant 10-name classification system that's in our text. All right. I didn't make this up, people. This is not, all right. But wisdom and understanding, you have the words Chokmah and Bina. How many times I talk? Revelation, knowledge, and spiritual understanding. Counsel and strength. These are all words. Gibora and Hesed. All right. These are all words that are in there. In Tobit 12:5, here's another witness. Again, it says, talks about it, and the 7 holy angels, which present the prayers of the saints and which go in and out before the glory of the Holy One. What picture did he just paint? He painted the exact same picture that's being painted for us in Revelation by John the Revelator, or being told to us by Isaiah in the throne room. All right. It's a busy place. All right. So, and I also want to give you another witness to lay this whole foundation that this is what we need to understand, what we're the ones that need to come into understanding. Our texts are really written very simply. Once we have the keys and the code words, we can go back to just sort of plugging in the understanding. It says in Zechariah 4, in verses 1 through 10, all right? What seest thou? Now this is, let me screen share something, because this is what this is the symbol, and this is what they're seeing. Now they're not seeing this in heaven, but this is, if you're to graph it out, people love to graph out stuff. Trust me, we're not the only people who love to do this in our modern age. What they're seeing and what it's representing away. All right, so let's look at this. Okay, so this look familiar? And menorah, okay? Now, what seest thou? I'm going to read from Zechariah. So look at this menorah. What seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, the prophet saying back, yes, I looked, and behold, a candlestick, a candelabra, a menorah, all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it. The bowls are at the top. See that? Okay, and they put the oil in it. It's all very symbolic. And his 7 lamps thereon. Count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? And his 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps. So coming down, the curve down, it's all attached, the 7 pipes to the 7 lamps, which are upon the top. Now there are 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl and the other upon the left side. Now, there were some verses in between, and I just want to read the last part. It says, for they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel with those 7. Those 7, they are the eyes of Elohim, which run to and forth through the whole earth. So what they're telling you here, this is another representation of the tree of life. If you look at the middle, that is called the middle pillar. See, this is another phraseology we have. The middle pillar. Let me tell you this. The 2 olive trees, these things are burning olive oil at the top. This is a tree. Remember, everything is working together. All the picture word symbol, all the word picture symbols are painting the same kind of concept. We have 7 lamps, 7 pipes, and 2 olive trees. There's a right hand of Elohim. There's a left hand of Elohim, right? Remember, we have the right hand of blessing and the left hand of blessing. These are the 2 olive trees. It's the same thing. It's all one tree, actually. But it's tying all the different processes that are going on in this tree. And you have a right side and a left side, which is really the 2 olive trees. That solves that mystery, so to speak, all right? Hod, Gevera, and Bina on one side. If you looked at a tree of life, which I probably should have had next, you will see that those are on the left side. If you go on the right side, Chokmah, Hesed, and Netzad, those funnel down on the right side. But the middle pillar is the most important thing. It is the structure. This is what upholds the world, as it says. You have Keter, the crown. In the middle, you have Tiferet, which is Yad-Heh-Vav-Heh, which is the sun. You have Yesod, which is this towards the bottom. I guess I gotta, let's see how I do this. So you can see it. And then you have Malkuth, which is always known as the feet, the foundation, the kingdom of heaven that is within us, the world of physicality. This is exactly what, in all the verses I just told you, this is just, the menorah is just a mind picture. All right. Now, one thing I just want to point out here again, too, if you notice that there are the world of creation here, the world of formation, the world of action, and the world of emanation. All right, this is another, in our next series, I'll go into this and explain. This is the whole concept, all right, of what we can know about Elohim. He is pure essence, spirit. He emanates. This is the whole point, the 4 rivers that flow from the headwater. These are all words. He is emanating. He has and you get it. See, the other side of this that I love, I'm just giving you word symbols, is the physics of this, because actually true science totally bears up that this is the concept of how the word works. All right. Quantum physics, this this theology that I'm of the tree of life, all are saying the same thing. And the concept of what they call the word of faith movement, where you are what you speak, you are what you think. All these three things work together and are saying the same thing. So we have here, and what is important to understand here, and this is how in the process of emanation, this is why they use different words, why they're using the word churches, stars, lamps, horns, eyes. All right, because each of these words kind of represent sort of a place kind of emanating down to us in physicality. See, the other way you can look at this in quantum physics, because the kingdom of heaven was within, I've said this is inner space. You know, we always want to go hierarchical. Another way of is imaging this, I hate to tell you this, people, is the pyramid. That has a top, a crown. Listen, it's in our text where it says the capstone. He's putting the capstone back on this whole thing, which is the head. He's attaching the head to the body. But the whole point of a pyramid is the same concept. You have a very pinnacle at the top, and it emanates down into just huge base of physicality. All right. But see, the problem with us today is we're so wired because of all the way to just only think in terms of the physicality of the whole created. We just don't, like our ancients did, we've been talked out of it, of the spiritual understanding of of Jacob's ladder and all the angels that are going up and down in the different realms, which our patriarchs accessed and understood and interfaced. See, in a holy way. The Essenes worshipped with the angels, okay? They didn't worship angels. There's such a difference. They worshiped with the it says in the Amida, a prayer, that every living being that has breath praises the Lord. This is what it says in our text in 3 or 4 places, all right? So what I'm trying to say is, so let's start with churches, is the last one. In the physicality, we are people, and churches is a bad word because people think of the building on the block, or they think of their denomination, or they think of their, okay, no, churches is the word ecclesia, the called at the elect, the people. It's the people who are truly grafted in to Elohim, his people, all Israel, living in any generation. Okay, that's the church, all right? And it's made up of people out of 2 houses, all right? And then you would go into stars and lamps, horns and eyes, and now we are morphing up into more invisible realms, all right? But within, we're morphing up, the stars are representing the planets. Now, this is, and I've been through this a little bit, the ancients understood this. This is a concept. They ascribe, okay, so there are 7 planets. If you study any ancient text, really, they're always going to go into Mercury and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, this pattern of 7 planets, also aligned with 7. So let me just tell you, we're just sticking with the 7 spirits of Elohim. But this principle of 7, that these 7, starting at the very top, are in, I don't know what the word, are inhabit, oversee, are in charge of, are the glue, is the body of, Adam Cademan. It's 7 planets in the constellation. It's 7 days in time. Time is a dimension. It says, and I said, time is going to be rolled up and be no more in the new heaven and the new earth. There'll be no more sun and moon, so to speak. I just did a teaching on this, all right? These Elohims, will be gone, all right? But in time, that 4th day, all those principalities and powers, that's 7 days in time. In man, in a microcosm sense, because see, it's always they're flipping. I've said this between a macrocosm, between the invisible worlds and the visible worlds. We have 7 senses. So when it says 7 eyes, these are like the 7 gates. This is another way they're talking about. We have 2 eyes. We have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, that's 4, 2 ears, that's 6, and our mouth, that's 7. So that's the 7 again. And a lot of times they'll just use the word eyes kind of to represent the whole thing. Our 7 gates, things come into the Adamic us through our 7 gates, our 7 quote unquote eyes, our 7 senses. All right. And it's attached, our head, to our body. So anything that comes at us, we process through these 7 gates, what our eyes see, but doesn't stop there in physicality. So there's always 7 spiritual, unseen relationships to this. So we have spiritual eyes and spiritual ears. We have a spiritual nose that can, the smell of the fragrance. Do you think Elohim, when he smells the fragrance of the incense of the temple, he's literally smelling it through a nostril? No. He's just trying to show us how things that are pleasing to him are sweet aromas, all right, versus something that is stinky. I mean, everything is done and wired to give us an understanding of Yahweh, who is essence, who does love us, who is minutely involved in every cell of our body, every thought of our brain, every action, and every intent of our heart. All right. So you have these, again, this 7 kind of goes up and down, but our 7 eyes, 7 gates, 7 ways in which we are spiritually, we know, hear, so Shema Israel, hear, see the goodness of God, taste the goodness of God. You think you're really literally with your 7s? No, these are spiritual, using these words spiritually analogous to try to get us to understand that spiritually in our inner man, we can see, taste, hear, smell, so to speak, the beauty, the essence, the understanding of Elohim as much as we could anything in the physical world. All right. So one of the things I want to, and it's all played out in the menorah. This is the theology they knew and understood, and it's all tracks. So we don't need to be confused. We don't need to keep trying out what are the lamp, because what I want to tell you here is, so I was saying the stars representing the planets, representing the planetary, the zodiac, the constellation, which are dimensions, a few of that influence. They're invisible realms. Well, let me put it this way, and I've said this before. The next thing you got to understand, once you kind of see the picture between visible and invisible, constantly morphing in and out. See, we do this constantly. We are constantly, even though we're so unconscious of it, even the fact we breathe, we're constantly morphing in and out of visible worlds and invisible worlds. All right? I'm constantly in my mind in an invisible world between me and Yahweh. But at the flip side, my hands, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm gardening, I'm writing, whatever. All right. So you're constantly morphing in and out. This is something we really need to understand and stop putting such a huge line between the two, or just totally denying the spiritual, the unseen realm, the world of the soul and the spirit. Oh my gosh. Okay. But the lamps, there's a very important principle here and how it's used. And I've said this, there is always the vessel, and then there is always what fills the vessel. So as I gave you a menorah, which is the vessel, and they fill it with oil, and the oil turns into a flame when they light it. It's telling you there is always a vessel, and there is always what fills the vessel, which gives it animation or life or light, visibility. Okay. So a star, which they would kind to the planets here, is the visible embodiment of angelic realms and that have influence to get Yahweh's will done in all the world. Whether it's bringing spring so we can start a new planting season so we can survive, or it's literally bringing chastisement or allowing punishing angels, droughts, famines in the physical, all right? These are all servants of Elohim, living entities that do praise him. Now, in all of this, there is always, at the same time, there's always a portion of this that is in disobedience, rebellion, darkness, and death. Now, that's part of the storyline. But I'm just talking about us as elect, what we can know about our Father, which is good, and we can have fellowship with him. All right, because we are children of the light. We are not children of the darkness. But the darkness, the children of the darkness are here, with us always at the same time. This is the other, because this is what makes the duality. There is always good, there is always evil. But I'm not talking about them today. All right, so you have the lamp. This is the point, where it says stars and lamps. You always have the vessels. We, the elect, we are his vessels, his vehicles, his stewards, we're his feet on the ground, so to speak, in physicality. And he fills us with these the seven spirits, his personalities, his attributes. All right. He fills us with those. So in other sense, we are just like the menorah. All right. And it says this in other verses. And he fills us. Horns is another word for power. Okay. It's the strength. It's the functioning ability. All right. I'm not just a lifeless rag here, so to speak. I have abilities and strengths. All right. And all of us have different strengths. Whether you can have great physical strength, you could have great mental strength. You could have great strength of character. And hopefully you have all of them in equal proportions. But this is what you have to understand, that the wick is always the light, the spirit, or let me say this, the oil is always the light, the wick is always the light, the essence, the ultimate animator. You have the oil, you have the wick, which is the vehicle. Remember when I said that there are different, what did it call them? Let me just get back to this. It called it pipes. Okay. What's the difference in calling an emanation that is coming, or a pipe? You have the wick, which is the pipe. You have the container, which is the lamp. All right. So in other words, this is a lot of what the words are saying, that these attributes of Elohim are manifesting up and down, visible to invisible, in and out of sense perception, spiritual perception, soul perception, in and out constantly. All right. And this is called anciently the tree of life, or it's depicted in the menorah. It is the same thing. It is talking, and it is all coming out of a picture of the throne room of Elohim. And so I've said enough on that. What I want to go into here, which was sort of another way. So a lot of these words represent these phenomena, this reality spiritually. A lot of the words represent this reality in the astral or our soul category, with our emotions and different things. Many of them are representing in the physical, how Yahweh manifests through us or down here into physicality. One of the great ways, and I had a really interesting revelation, which wasn't, a revelation, it's just something I finally got down to researching something so deep, and I went, aha, now I get it. But I want to talk about what another way is called the 7 fruits of the land. All right, so remember, I read this in a couple of verses. I think I had read it in Isaiah. Where is it? Or mostly it is in, I get so confused here in all my different notes. About the fruits of the land. And it says in Revelation how there will be 12 fruits, all right, that will always be bearing fruit, right? There are traditionally in your Bible, and it's God's broken down also into 3 harvests. We know from ancient Israel. So now I'm going to move into talking how the words are used to code a lot of what Elohim is doing amongst the righteous elect here on the earth plane in every generation. All right. And he uses the fruits of the land. All right. We're fruits. Biblically, a lot of times a fruit depicts a soul. All right. That's what it, so my soul, that's why we're to have fruit of the spirit. My soul life is to produce fruit. Now, logically, people, really and truly, as I grow up, I'm a little seedling, I grow into a human being, I'm never going to produce an apple. You're never going to see out of my fingertips growing, fruit, apples, blueberries, peaches. No, we're just talking as an analogy, as a parable. The fruit that I produce is supposed to be the fruit of the spirit, which is coming out of a redeemed, regenerated soul life, which is producing patience, love, joy, goodness, kindness, mercy, peace. Okay, that's the fruit of my soul, and that is the fruit of that we are supposed to be producing, so that the world can come and eat of our fruit, or our fruit is for the healing of the nations. All right, who is not found? It says a soft answer turn away wrath. Just a mature person in a contentious situation who can hold their tongue and stay calm and finally interject a word of wisdom that can calm the whole scene down. All right, so it doesn't escalate. That's the whole point, that we can be the healing balm out there in any situation because we produce fruit. So the fruit is wheat, barley, grapes, which is in grapes, it's a lot of times referred to as the vine or wine, the fruit of the vine. It's very important, wine, and we'll get into it, but that has so much subcategories in and of itself, is the grapes. We have figs, we have pomegranates, we have olives, and what always so many times is translated now in our modern translations as honey. And it used to bother me. I'm like, honey is not a fruit. Honey comes from bees. Honey does not come from the earth, as a seed planted. So I always had this, of course, the translations, we've lost it. It's called, the honey is referring specifically to what's called a honey date palm. They just left out the last 2 words, all right? When John the Baptist ate honey in the wilderness, he ate date palms, dates, all right? This is what this fruit is. So throw out honey, okay, totally. Because first of all, the date palms, so it makes a honey, it's like a caramel, sweet. It's supposed to be awesome. I'm going to have to go out and get some and to really get into this. It does produce a honey. You can squish the palms and get a honey out of it, but it's really dates. So let's go through this again. And this is where you get into in the book of Revelation. Wrong one. The book of Genesis, the first chapter, where it's talking about, I should get it in front of me, that he made trees that produce fruit-bearing trees, and grasses, all right? Because wheat and barley are grasses. Grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates come from fruit trees, all right? So you have here words that are symbolizing emanative aspects of the soul. The soul produces. So in other words, they're just saying, because grapes, you press the fruit of the vine, see, and this is what you get. You get wine. Wine for gladness. Wine is for understanding. I did this one teaching out of the vision of Paul, and he talks about in the city of God, in the city of Elohim. It talks about these different, another word is there rivers, the 4 rivers. There was rivers of oil, rivers of honey, which now, but I understand it's not honey from, it's this concept of the date palm, which I'm going to go into now a little bit more. And what were the other ones? Wine, understanding was one of them. Anyways, there were 4, I can't remember. That's the teaching in there that'll be linked in with this, because this will go in my playlist for keys in the parabolic language. So we have these fruits, all right, which is representing, but the date palm, because I could never plug the palm tree into anything before. Because now I understand how bad the translations are. They're just talking honey. You're thinking something totally different. You're not thinking the date palm. So now let's cross off honey and put date palm in there, all right? Because he's going to bring them into a land, remember, that's full of oil and honey and gosh, I forget. There's the 4 things. It's usually they'll shorten these 7 into 4. I was going to also say this. Let me say my last point. This is also depicted Israel as their greatest thing was they were an agricultural. Again, Yahweh never breaks typology. We're an agricultural people because we are supposed to produce for the world. That's our gift to the world, is our fruit. All right? We're using it symbolically now. Yes, literally. Ancient Israel was part of the Crescent Valley way back in the day. It was one of the most lush places on the earth. And it produced huge crops of beautiful grasses and fruits that they used to trade for commerce to all the surrounding nations. That's a fact, all right? We know this. They were known for their pomegranates. They were known for their olives. They were known for their dates. They were known for their grapes, all this wheat. But they had 3, what's the word I'm looking for? Harvests: the spring, the summer, and the fall. See how this all just beautifully keeps interweaving into some beautiful theology for us to have understanding, all right? So the date palm is, they believe it is the oldest fruit-bearing tree on earth, okay? The ancient date palm tree, it has been suggested, is the oldest fruit-bearing tree on earth. Now that would really make sense because the Jews ate date palm trees. The tree juices were fermented into wine. The trunk of the palm tree was used as construction timber. The palm leaves were woven into baskets, mats, brooms. And during even here, it talks about in 1 Kings 6:29, or how for Sukkot, they took palm branches and they wove huts for themselves, all right? Palm coverings. They were dwelling in these huts of palm branches. They're temporary because even in this world, we have this fruit manifestation in a temporal body. But eventually, we will be spiritual beings who will always emanate this fruit. There will never be an off season. There'll never be a winter anymore. There'll never be a dearth of abundance of fruit for the nations. Once Israel is back, after the resurrection, in the new heaven and the new earth, all right, we will, or even we're going into a place of the millennium where our fruit will just be so abundant and prolific in all seasons. There will never be any more droughts or famines or anything in the land. In 1 Kings 6:29, it talks about how figures of angels, palm trees, and open flowers, which is a pomegranate, were carved on all the walls of both rooms of the temple and the floor of both rooms, and was overlaid with gold. These are extremely ancient, important motifs and symbols of the theology of ancient Israel. And we need to understand now palm trees. It says that palm trees can grow up to 80 feet tall in a river valley Well, it says that date palms grew up to 800 feet tall in a river valley 7 miles wide. When ancient Israel had generated a giant economy. At the peak of their time, and this is the point, when the kingdom, probably under David and Solomon, was at their peak and they were exporting, and we know this now, true biblical archaeology is proving that even as far that there were mining fields as far as the United States, that they went in upper Michigan, or there's parts of the Southwest, they have found coins, Hebraic coins, King of David coins. It is found all over the world. They traded and traveled all over the world. It was a worldwide economy and worldwide nation, empire, kingdom. The fruit of the date palm was known for its high quality, and it was exported throughout the whole Roman Empire. Now, it says again here in Psalm 92:12 through 14, but the godly shall flourish like palm trees, 80 feet high. You can see 80 feet's a pretty tall tree. You're going to see it from quite a distance. It was as high. All right. For the godly shall flourish like palm trees and grow as tall as the cedars of Lebanon. For they are transplanted into the Lord's own garden and are under his personal care. Even in old age, they will still produce fruit and be vital and green. See, this is the whole point. This is why the concept as fruit, as part of our regenerated soul life, we will, and an older person can have as much, even more wisdom, patience, knowledge, understanding, discernment. That's why they revered their ancients. Something we've totally lost because we live in this youth-centered culture where we think young people have more wisdom than older people. I mean, give me, oh my gosh. No wonder things are a mess, right? It says that when a child shall rule over them. Well, what do you think's going on, right? We're letting unregenerate people, quote unquote, that's the way youth rule over us. But in a perfect biblical culture and theology, even in old age, people still produce fruit and be vital and green and are revered and respected, the elders. So this is the picture that's being the godly flourish like palm trees and will grow as tall as the cedars of Lebanon. The cedars of Lebanon is another code word or phrase for see, I don't know if I want to get in for people groups, all right? Because another one it has is the quote unquote the oaks of Bashan. See, we're cedars of Lebanon and we are palm trees, all right? The oaks of Bashan is another code word phraseology that is talking about fallen watcher angels, all right? Oak Bashan, if anybody knows anything about Bashan, it is a place of watcher angel activity. All right, and I'm not going to go into that. That's another teaching. I'm only talking about the good side now. It says in Revelation 7:9, after this I saw a vast crowd, too great to count, from all the nations and provinces and language, standing in front of the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in, where did my last here? Clothed in white with palm branches in their hands. So again, we have the palm branch is a major archetypal understanding of the righteous, all right? And again, how the palm tree is used. Its fruit, its honey, its covering, everything about it is integrated into as a blessing and a example of the righteous. Another important, in Ezekiel 47:12, it talks about all kinds of fruit trees. And this is the point. Let me make this point. Why I'm saying the trees and the fruits, these are manifestations of something that is going on supernally. See, this is the point. You plant a seed, be it a seed of faith, be it the seed of a human being. All right. They all will, in a relationship with Yahweh, will grow up into great vehicles and great displays of his splendor. All right. Let me read Ezekiel. All kinds of fruit trees will grow along the river banks. The leaves will never turn brown and fall, and there will always be fruit. This is when the elect are fully redeemed and renewed after the third day, which we're really coming up on. There will be a new crop every month without fail. For they are watered by the river flowing from the temple. The fruit will be good for food and the leaves for medicine. Now, yes, there is a literal application to this in the sense that we do. I just told you everything we get from the palm tree. All right. Just said honey and baskets, but on a deeper level, in its parabolic spiritual application, which is as valid, if not more valid, to have this in understanding. All right. And when you read these verses, plug in the spiritual understanding, because truly all the physical stuff is going to be no more. And if we've never got the spiritual application and understood and developed this fruit of the Spirit in our lives, what good are we? Everything else is going to burn up. All right. You can't burn up, this way, our spiritual fruit, our spiritual works are not going to burn up if they are truly of the 7 spirits of Yahweh. So again, we have these fruit trees, and there will always be a harvest. There will always be the elect in the millennium, in the new heaven and the new earth, in the new Jerusalem. We will always be green and displaying fruit and full of greenness, life, vitality forevermore. That's how this is all working. That's the whole analogy here that's going on. Let me see if I covered. So one of the, just as a very interesting aside, let me see if I can find where I have this. They found a discovery. They found some seeds of the date palm that were confirmed scientifically to date to approximately 2,000 years ago at Masada. They found a little satchel of date palm seeds, all right? And it led to an unbelievable miracle that they resurrected a dormant 2,000-year-old seed into a living tree. It's so prophetic. The date palm. It says that this tree symbolized and nurtured the Jews in the promised land of milk, all right, and honey. But again, we're not talking honey from the bee, we're talking honey from the date palm, all right, in the land of Canaan. The ancient seeds of this date palm had been resurrected to sprout and grow, and they're making an analogy here, as Israel did, a land that also lay dormant for 2,000 years. Israel has been, well, let's say Judah, because truly we have Judah has been resurrected. A few seeds were treated by a scientist, Ian Soloway, with a growth hormone of gibberellic acid at the Yale University lab for the 1960s, and within 5 weeks, a 2,000-year-old seed sprouted to form a small tree that they named the Methuselah palm. Now, years before this experiment was done, some Egyptian pharaoh seed of grain, some Egyptian seed was found of grain that sprouted but did not survive. It says seeds of excavated lotus water lilies dating back 1,200 years have sprouted from dormancy to grow into lotus lilies. So this has, and I know that also I think they found some cotton seeds. I think this is what they're referring to. I've heard they found some ancient Nile cotton or linen cotton seeds, and they have been able, totally non-GMO. This is another reason why I believe if we could find these ancient seeds again and begin to sprout these and grow, we could, get past all this GMO seed. But that's another whole teaching. That's not going down that rabbit trail. But this is why, and this is the symbolism that is behind the challah loaf, all right? This is, again, a part of this whole this is part of the whole concept of tithing in the Old Testament to the priests, to the Levites, of the fruits, your first fruits of the ground. And people, seriously, our fruits of the Spirit are totally, should be tithed, so to speak, to Yahweh and his kingdom and his work and his workers. Who else would you, don't throw your pearls before swine, in essence. So this is, again, it's a symbology. My love, my goodness, my patience, my peace, first of all, should be tied first and foremost to Yahweh Elohim in a perfect, peaceful relationship. In other words, through wine, through understanding, I can have revelation knowledge and spiritual understanding. Through honey, his date palm, all these things. First and foremost, the tithe is so that my relationship, I can go in and out in relationship with my Father, my Abba Father, Yahweh Elohim. And then after that, use for my family, that I should have fruit, so that the people I'm around can experience the fruit that's in my life. And then after that, it can go out to the nations. See, everything fits. Everything is very beautiful. Everything is really simple. And it is simple that even a child can understand it. So that's where I want to leave you. I just thought that was beautiful. So we are going to try to exhibit these fruits of the Spirit, this harvest. Let us be a harvest, because at the end of the age, see, again, the harvest, what's he going to harvest? Us, the elect, full of his fruits. Everything makes sense. So everything is a great typology for this. And so I hope it blessed you. See you again next week. Shalom in Yeshua's name.